today I want to show you how to create a Wabi-Sabi style vase that will perfectly fit any interior from one of the most durable materials, concrete. So let's get started. First, we need to create a mold as a base for our vase. Since I'm going for a spherical shape, I'll be using a balloon as the mold. I'll cover it with tape first to reinforce the concrete, ensuring that the finished product is as strong as possible. At this stage, you should already have an idea of the final product, such as the face height, neck, and handles. It's best to plan ahead, but if you decide to make changes during the process, that's okay. Initially, I wanted a vase without a neck, but later I decided to add one. Once we have our mold, I'll mix cement and sand with water to create a thin liquid solution. We don't need a lot of this mix, just enough to coat the mold with a thin layer to harden it, making it easier to work with later. For the areas where the handles will attach, I'll use a thicker mixture to ensure they are securely fastened to the vase. And I leave the vase to dry for 24 hours. The next day, I decided I wanted a long neck for the vase, so I added a handmade mold to the balloon, covering it with tape as well. And next, I turned the mold upside down and used a thicker, creamier concrete mix to form this base of the vase. You can apply a thicker layer if you want, as the concrete will hold its shape well, but I prefer a thin layer to control the thickness of the vase. The process here is quite simple. You just need to fill all the areas with concrete. Where the neck starts, I won't fill it completely to make it easier to remove the mold without damaging the structure. And I'll leave it to dry for another day. The following day, it's time to remove all the molds and finally shape the final product. I carefully take out the neck mold and for the balloon, I simply pop it and remove the remains. Now we have a basic shape and I can start to refine it. First, I'll fill in any uneven spots inside the vase with more concrete to smooth the surface. I'll apply the mix with a brush, using water to even it out. On the outside, I also shape the walls, applying layer after layer and smoothing them with a brush and water, remembering to do the same for the bottom of the vase. Unfortunately, this step wasn't captured on video, but it's super easy. You just need to form the base separately on your work surface and attach it to the vase using water and a brush. As I mentioned before, you can apply thicker layers if you prefer. Personally, I enjoy building up layers and letting each other dry. And for me, this process can be almost endless, but if you want to save time, just apply a thicker layer. In my case, I left the vase to dry for another 24 hours, and the next day I continued refining by adding more concrete to the necessary areas. So after I finished and the vase has fully dried and hardened, it's time for decorating. First, I'll use dark paint to fill in all the crevices to enhance the shadows. I'll let the vase dry for a few hours, then I'll take a white brush and apply white acrylic paint. You can use wall paint if you want, with a dry brush across the entire surface, leaving it to dry for a few more hours. And after 2 and 3 hours, I'll apply a diluted yellow paint over the entire vase to give it a subtle age effect. You can skip this step if you prefer to keep the vase white. Personally, I like that the white color is slightly toned down. And here's the finished vase. What do you think?